Hello, everybody, and thank you all for coming. Today, we're very honored as my co-chairs, Margaret Murphy and Neil Botchowitz, and I want to welcome and thank you all for coming and supporting us. We're very grateful. It's an incredible night. It's a great party. It's great. A great party is made by people. And being a gay man, I can say, you're fabulous. So I'm very happy. However, before we start, I want to mention a great loss that happened to us 2 weeks ago. The Fine Arts Work Center lost Hattie Walker Fitz. She passed away after fighting a long illness. Hattie was our co-chair for many, many years on the board and a trustee for over 40 years. She was the heart, the soul of our center. She gave us history. She gave us the sense of presence, and she, most importantly, gave us the hope for the future. We're very grateful, and our heart goes out with gratitude to our wonderful family. Thank you, Hattie. Tonight we recognize three great creative talents: Paul Ressiger, Paula Vogel, and Ryan Murphy. My co-chairs will introduce and say something about them. So at this time, I'd also like to recognize our former honorees who have been here and are with us tonight: Michael Cunningham, John Dow, James Lacine, and moi, because I got I also want to mention the ones we've honored before. And if I get to the right page, you'll get them. Mary Oliver, Ann Packett, Tony Kirshner, Ann Patchett, Robert De Niro Jr., Robert De Niro Sr., Elizabeth McCracken, Eileen Miles, Governor DeVal Patrick, and the Hudson D. Walker family. We did pretty damn well. I also want to acknowledge and welcome Hunter Onanian, our former head director, and has been wonderful in starting this whole process. So it is my pleasure to introduce the director, our present director, Michael Roberts, who will take the evening from here. But thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Danny, and again, our thanks to you all for coming. We are so lucky to have these three wonderful chairs. Let's have a round of applause for Margaret Murphy, Neil Balkowicz, and Danny Mullen. As Danny said, tonight we celebrate three remarkable artists whose work has been highly acclaimed across a broad range of creative domains. All three have been drawn to the unique combination of untamed natural beauty and radical human imagination that we all love about the Outer Cape. We're delighted and honored to welcome them to the Fine Arts Work Center tonight. For 49 years, we've launched hundreds of artists and writers on careers that have shaped American arts and letters. Every year, 20 emerging artists and writers selected from 1,400 applications come to our fellowship. The odds worse than Harvard, so it's pretty amazing. For 7 months, their only responsibility is to pursue their own work. And some of them are here tonight, and they're supposed to be wearing lanyards, but even if you're not, hold up your hand if you're a fellow, and let folks know who you are. Once a fellow, always a fellow. There are almost 1,000 of them all over the country, and in fact all over the world. We're so delighted. They're really the reason we're here. Each summer, 600 more study writing and visual art with distinguished faculty in our workshops program. Hundreds more join online writing classes all year round from wherever you are. The Work Center helps keep Provincetown thriving as a year-round creative community where art stands at the center of civic life. And now, to present the first of this year's honorees, I'm delighted to introduce my predecessor as director, the other executive director here tonight, who did so much over 6 years to strengthen our programs, renovate our buildings, and fortify our finances. our event co-chair, Margaret Murphy.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. Perhaps no other living artist better exemplifies all that our storied town has given to American art than Paul Resica. He also represents the continuity that links the Fine Arts Work Center to the earliest days of this historic art colony. Born in 1928, Resica painted from an early age. At 12, he studied with Saul Wilson, the Provincetown seascape painter, and at 17 began studying with Hans Hofmann. He first came to Provincetown in 1947 and helped paint Hofmann's new studio in the West End. Resica is part of the legacy of nationally renowned artists who at mid-century brought the latest currents of American art to the day's lumberyard, where leading figures of the art colony had painted since 1914. Resica was elected to the National Academy in 1978 and to the American Academy of Arts and Letters in 1994. He chaired the MFA program at Parsons School of Design for 12 years. He was a founding member of Provincetown's legendary Long Point Gallery. His work is represented in public and private collections and museums, including the Metropolitan Museum, the Museum of Modern Art, the Whitney, and the National Academy. Resica has always had an affinity for poets and writers and was a friend of Stanley Kunitz, Alan Dugan, Arturo Vivante, and others who helped to establish the uniquely interdisciplinary character of the Work Center's fellowship program, built as it is on a cross-pollination between visual and literary media. The poet Mark Strand said of our honoree, "The simplicity that characterizes Paul Resica's painting is deceptive. What appears to be a casual disposition of landscape elements is in fact the delicate and precarious articulation of a vision of pictorial purity." The Fine Arts Work Center proudly salutes one of America's greatest painters, Paul Resica.
Paperweight. I'll be dead.
It says Paul Resica, Fine Arts Work Center.
What a marvelous, useless thing it is. Thank you so much.
You've got some paper around,
It's a
right?
paperweight. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Margaret. It's been wonderful working with you on this event and in so many other ways through 5 years together. Now, to introduce our next honoree, it's my pleasure to bring you our maximum host, simply the best and nicest guy in the event business, who year after year makes this such a memorable evening, our co-chair, Neil Balkowicz.
Thanks, Michael. And thank you for being here, everyone. Paula Vogel is one of America's iconic playwrights. She has written 22 plays, including the Pulitzer Prize-winning How I Learned to Drive, and her newest, the exciting, critically acclaimed Indecent. which marked her Broadway debut. Indecent received the Off-Broadway Alliance Award for Best Play, and after its move to Broadway, It won 2 Tony Awards. Paula Vogel first came to national prominence with the Baltimore Waltz, a European gallivant underscored by notes of tragedy surrounding the AIDS crisis. It won the Obie Award for Best Play. The purpose of theater is to bring into public that which is kept off stage, Paula has said. Her work grapples in turn with themes of misogyny, homosexuality, sexual abuse, and family. Occasionally, it works with all 4, as in How I Learned to Drive. Her accolades, too numerous to mention all, include the Pulitzer Prize, the Award for Literature from the Academy of Arts, induction into the American Theater Hall of Fame, and this year, an Obie Award for Lifetime Achievement. She also thrives as a teacher of playwriting. Actively involved over the past 3 decades with the theater departments of Brown University and the Yale School of Drama, nurturing such luminaries as Lynn Nottage, Sarah Rule, Nilo Cruz. As a teacher, she conducts playwriting workshops worldwide. Her work evokes a powerful American spirit of progress and criticism that continues to inspire generations of artists and audiences. The Fine Arts Work Center proudly welcomes and salutes one of America's greatest playwrights, Paula Vogel.
I'll make this brief. I want to say what an honor it is to receive this from this community. I was very honored to sit on the stage last night and have an incredible conversation and listen to Ryan and Michael Cunningham. Michael Cunningham is one of my heroes in writing. And just there's such an extraordinary body of work from the people who have come to the Fine Arts Work Center. Michael remarked last night that, in remarks that when he first came to Provincetown, he wanted his ashes. He realized he wants his ashes here, his remains, into the Bay. I want the same in Wellfleet Bay. And if we stop and think about all the artists who walk the streets of this town, we're gonna have to do something about water pollution fairly soon. The only thing that I might want to say is that for the past 40 years, since 1984, when I came here the first time, I actually came here in my imagination. I read about the Fine Arts Work Center as a starving playwright, and I wrote several times and applied as a playwright to come to the Fine Arts Work Center. And each time received a very lovely reply that they only took fiction writers and poets. Fortunately, the MacDowell Colony took me in. It was at a time when I was evicted and literally gave up my dog because I couldn't afford the dog food. And to get the 3 meals a day from MacDowell, but more than that, to get the mentorship of artists who are painters and fiction writers and composers who brought me into their studios, who showed me the cross-fertilization of these other fields in terms of what I was grasping to do as a 27-year-old playwright is something that has remained always. When I came here in 1984, I thought, not I'm supposed to live here, but I'm supposed to die here. And that means the completion of a life well lived. And in living a life well lived, it's about being of use. Will you please honor me by taking in an emerging playwright to be inspired by the work that is done here? I am here. I would love to be of use. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Paula. Paula and I have to have a meeting shortly after this. Thank you so much, Paula, and thank you, Neil. Well, with tonight's final honoree, we embrace a new creative medium for the Fine Arts Work Center. We've just gotten inspired to embrace a wider range of disciplines. So now we're jumping to innovative, cutting-edge TV. Ryan Murphy's 8 groundbreaking series over 18 years, and I don't know a whole lot about TV, but from what I understand, that's a pretty astonishing rate of productivity, particularly the level of success that he has achieved. He's won virtually every award. He's introduced new talents like Sarah Paulson and Courtney B. Vance, and sometimes reinvented old ones like Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange as Betty and Joan in this spring's Feud. From Nip Tuck's commentary on America's cosmetic culture to the humane grand guignol of American Horror Story, Ryan Murphy has, and now quoting from the New Yorker, pushed the limits of television in ways as exciting as anyone. The New Yorker also calls him a prolific auteur, a thrillingly ambitious risk-taker, bending old genres into new forms. With the 6-year smash hit Glee, Murphy humanized the horrors of the American high school that have tortured generations of LGBTQ youth and other questioning folks. Many in this space, I expect, had similar experiences. And in 2014, Murphy's HBO adaptation of Larry Kramer's The Normal Heart garnered numerous awards, including an Emmy for Outstanding Television Movie. Last year's American Crime Story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, was nominated for 22 Emmys and 5 Golden Globes. It won 11 awards and numerous other accolades. But Ryan has not been content to work for change only from behind the camera. He's recently embraced the cause of equity in Hollywood. His Half Foundation aims to raise the numbers of women, people of color, and LGBTQ folk in the TV industry. And I hope he'll tell us more about that. And finally, we'd like to commend Ryan for a commitment to culture right here in Provincetown. He and his husband David have purchased the beautiful Hans Hofmann studio in the West End that you heard about earlier, and plan to preserve it as an integral piece of our town's and the Fine Arts Work Center's artistic heritage. Wow. For distinguished contributions to television and the creative arts, and for persistent dedication to making America a more diverse, tolerant, and equitable society, the Fine Arts Work Center is proud to honor Ryan Murphy. Thank you very much.
Hello, hello. I would like to point out that I am the only person with an airbrushed photo on the wall tonight. Thank you. I am here tonight. I'm so honored. I love Provincetown so much. I was late to the game. I started coming here in 2010. It was on a date with somebody who I would marry, David Miller. He asked me to come here. And I instantly got off the ferry and I was like, I belong here. I love this place. And there's a lot of things that I love about Provincetown. I love the art. I love the fact that my 2 Los Angeles-based boys can come here for 8 to 10 weeks of the year and experience a different kind of life than I had growing up, which was very conservative and very Republican and very Christian. I love that I can sit and talk to my 4.5-year-old like I did today for half an hour about how they're all kind of bears. It was a great conversation. He learned a lot and he was very into it. But the thing that I love the most about Provincetown, well, first of all, I have to say I was married here. David and I were married here. I have the honor of having the gayest wedding of all time because Patti LuPone was my flower girl in Provincetown. Provincetown, which is the truth. We have homes here. We love it here. We bring people here throughout the year, and there are always converts to this place. But the thing that I love the most about Provincetown is the community, the sense of inclusion. When I walk down the street, I feel like this is the world that I want to live in, not the town that I want to live in, the world that I want to live in. Everyone is embraced. I started having some success right around the time I came here, and it really inspired me. Like I said, I wanted to live in this kind of world, and I wasn't living that kind of world in my career. I was living and working in Hollywood, and I was a guy that was sort of coming up, and I had a modicum of power, and I realized one day that I wasn't using my voice correctly. Paula and I were talking about this last night, but in Hollywood, only 16% of episodic television is directed by women, which is shameful when women make up 54% of the viewers of television, and only 7% of episodic television is directed by people of color. And I realized one day, like, by not doing anything, by not sort of making my work life look like my Provincetown life, that I was failing. So I created a thing called the Half Foundation, and I thought it was going to be very hard. But it was a very simple idea where I just wanted to quantify power. I wanted to say simply to people coming up, 50% of everything that we should do should be directed by women in this town, and 50% should be directed by minority voices. And I thought it was going to be hard. I went to my bosses, I explained the goal of the Half Foundation, and they instantly said yes. And it was the easiest thing that I ever did, and it was the most rewarding thing that I ever did. And that was a year ago. And since then, my company has changed. We were at the industry average, which is shameful, 15-7. And now, 1 year in, 65% of our episodes are directed by women. And gasps. And 94% of all of our directorial slots are filled by minority voices, which I'm so proud of. And so I really have been inspired by Provincetown, and I've tried to make that my Hollywood life as well. And I believe in this place. I believe in the spirit of Provincetown. David and I love it here. We love that our boys have a life here, and we keep trying to think, how can we give back to this place that we love so much? We started with the Hoffman House restoration, which is a wonderful place, and you can feel the ghosts and the tenor of the town in it. But tonight I wanted to do something more, and I feel that artists need to be nurtured and need to be loved, and next year is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Fine Arts Work Center. And I wanted to, with my husband, David, and on behalf of our children, Logan and Ford, make a contribution to this place so that it can keep going and talent can keep coming out of it. So starting next year for the 50th anniversary, David and I are going to sponsor a $50,000 a year scholarship for the Fine Arts Work Center. And hopefully, new important artists can come out of it, and to continue just the amazing feeling of inclusiveness that comes when you study and work and love and create in this town. So thank you very much for this. I'm honored to accept it.
What can I say? What can I say? We are very grateful to all three of our honorees, Ryan, Paula, and Paul, for your work and for all of your examples that you set for so many people. We're so proud to recognize you. I also want to thank all of the guests who are here tonight, our benefactors, our patrons, our sponsors, who have supported us over the last 8 years. This is our 8th year. And I especially want to thank my good friend Neil with Max Ultimate Catering Food that we all like, as we see, unfortunately, and the Wachusett Resort for sponsoring and supporting the exhibition in the gallery of Paul Ressica's work. In closing, I don't want you to forget, we have a beautiful replica that is up for auction tonight, a silent auction which will end at 9 o'clock. It's been anonymously donated and it will help us make our goals. So please bid often and bid high because we need it. Also, we do want to say that the work in the gallery is for sale. If anyone's interested, please contact us. So now, enjoy your dinner, have some more cocktails, and bon appetit.